Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Discover a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone. So we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural Then and Now.
Guess what I'm wearing on my lips right now?
Somebody's pussy.
No, it's a juicy tube. I'm like taken straight back to middle school. That was like my first makeup I ever got. My godfather got me a like little holiday Lancome gift set, and I was like, I am the fucking shit.
Yeah.
Wasn't allowed to have like that glitter roll on because I had eczema and it would cause a reaction on my skin, but like juicy tube, I'm here.
I remember that glitter roll on.
I would get so red and itchy. They would burn.
Yeah.
But hey, beauty is
But
pain.
you could make your own though.
Yeah, no, I'm obsessed with glitter.
Like some
on the
body oil
now.
and then glitter instead of the chemicals that dried on your. If
Yeah,
you use body
alcohol.
oil, if you use body oil, it would be better.
Yeah, that checks out.
You could have got one of the puffs like I had from Victoria's Secret.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember
that big pink puff that
Oh,
never
yeah.
ran out of glitter.
I think Jerry had one. I
Yeah,
don't think
it
Sid
never
had.
it never ran out. So I had it for years until like people stopped glittering their bodies, and now I'm
Which,
like, if I
bring it
would,
back.
if I mean, it's coming back
Love
because
it.
all the trends are coming back, so it will be back. So if I would have kept it, it probably still would have glitter on it.
Without a doubt.
You know what vibe you're giving me right now?
I don't know if I want to hear it
Why not?
because I don't know what you're gonna say.
I'm gonna say either a college professor, like a young cool one,
Like a T. Hay who's in one of those movies where she sleeps with her student, and you're like, this is bad.
and you're like, it's like English,
Okay, good,
Or-
because there's no other subject I could do.
or like English lit, or
Mhm.
that woman, that British lady that has that show. You know what I'm talking about? And I can't think of
No,
the
I have
name
no
of
idea what you're talking about, but British reminded me of something I have to tell you.
that. She has that show where she goes around, like it's a history show, but she trolls people while she's doing history. Like if, let's say, like
So you're saying I look smart?
Z-Way, if you took Z-Way and then give her a British accent, but have her be very serious while she's giving history lessons in that
Oh,
type of way.
Nice.
It's just like it. There's a show on Netflix now, but I see the clips on TikTok all the
Huh.
time.
I like it.
Yeah.
I do it. Well, if anyone wants to see my teacher outfit, or Melissa just saying in so many iterations, I look smart, I look brainy, head on over to our Patreon. You can watch the video version of it and support the show, join our live streams, or just be like, wow, Megan, you look great in a blazer.
You do.
Thank you. So do you think I'm old enough to play like a teacher?
Yeah.
If I
'cause
wore a
there's
blazer?
teachers that are older, younger than you.
No, but TV teacher.
Yeah.
Sick.
I mean, a lot of times they make them the same age as the students and then they fuck
It's mostly because they make the students
the same age.
the same age as the teachers.
Yeah.
So
You would play a teacher.
that would be acting.
Well, that's the profession you chose.
It is the profession I chose.
We're going to make a short this year.
Oh, okay.
I'm just putting it out there.
Okay. I believe you. Like,
I know that you're going to
I'm
show
along
up.
for the ride. Like,
Yeah.
I'm literally here along for the ride.
Mhm.
And then, like, you tell me we're doing something, I'm like,
I know.
amazing.
I'm telling
You say we're jumping off this bridge, and I go, okay, should I bring something? Do you need a snack?
a snack and
a flotation
device. Because if we're jumping,
no, you and I
for fun. But I don't.
I was about to say, if we're jumping for fun,
neither one of us can swim.
Neither of us are strong swimmers. So if we're jumping, I don't know if we're jumping. That's cause for concern.
Yeah.
Unless you've seen us do a post on Instagram, like holding some certificates that look, they're strong swimmers. If we're jumping off from a tall place into a big body of water, call somebody. It's not good.
No. But I told you I signed up for a short class.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole point was that we're going to make something this year.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love that. It's going to be the year of making things.
Mm-hmm.
A dollhouse.
Food. Quilt.
Yeah. We want to dance lessons and gymnastics. You wanted to make the mat?
I'm kind of pulling back on the gymnastics.
Well, you have to up your health insurance.
Well, that's already been done.
Or
but then
insurance.
I'm starting to think about my back. All I really want to do is just do a back handspring. And I think I could do that without going. Because I've done it before.
Okay, wow. That is some male ego in sports activity of being like, I've done no. Handspring and shit. I have a not so irrational fear of getting a TBI. And I've just a not so irrational fear of TBIs in general. Anything that you're throwing that your neck could land anywhere weird.
As long as my hands are up, I'm fine. I used to throw them all the time. It's not like I haven't done it. It's not like I didn't do it for years upon years. Like I have the muscle memory. I just haven't done it in a while.
You got to get one of those big rolly things to practice on.
I don't need that. I just need somebody to spot me.
Okay, I'm not going to be here.
It definitely would not be you.
I don't want to spot you, but I also don't want to be a spectator. Like that shit scares me.
I can do it. I can still do a round off. I can still do like everything. I just haven't thrown. Like the last time I threw one.
You just threw it back. You just threw it back.
I can throw it back. But the last time I threw one was like 10 years ago. Actually, it's been less than that. I'd say 8 years ago. If I have somebody to spot me, I'll be fine.
Okay, someone else volunteers tribute because it's not going to be me.
I just said I don't want it to be you. Do you know how you freak out? Like if I trip a little bit, I do not want you spotting me.
I startle easily.
Yeah, I do not like you be. And I'm like, no.
Growing up, like I was too big, like too tall to do like lots of gymnastics things or cheerleading things. But all my friends were like tiny and like petite, little. So I would like help them do that because like I was pretty good at like seeing the bigger picture. I'm like, oh, you have to do this, this, and this. I just didn't have the coordination to do it myself.
Yeah.
No. And I used to help all of my friends do like handsprings, like walkovers. I was like really good at like helping them spot and do all that
walkover.
stuff.
So I think I'm fine.
Okay. I'm a little more secure knowing that. The round off did not make me
the
feel
thing is with the round off though is that's how you
you have the momentum.
Yeah.
And now if you have the walkover, you've got the back dexterity still. Okay.
I can do it. I just haven't.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Wow, this takes me back to childhood gymnastics and Juan. I miss that guy. It was fun. I loved the foam pit.
Disgusting.
I know.
Anyway, what is this show?
Welcome to Don't Blame Me, where we give you wonderful, amazing, life-changing advice because we can, and it's our gift to you.
Well, the thing is that we're certified freaks 5 days a week.
4 days a week.
Take breaks. I got to sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
That's why we give advice. What we lack in credentials, we make up for in
opinions. Because why not?
Yeah.
You call in, you leave us voicemails, and then we play them on the show and give you advice. So if you would like to call, you can leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. Or if you're an international listener, you can send us an audio message at meganpodcast@gmail.com. You have a 3-minute cutoff for both of those, whether it's a voice memo or a voicemail. The voicemail will literally cut you off. The voice memo, we will cut it off and not play it on the show. Mm-hmm. Or if you're at the very end of it, it's just we're going to slice you off right there. So we do ask that you be 18 or over, have your parents' permission. You let us know your ages and like all relevant details. So if it's about a relationship, how long you've been together, the ages of other people involved. Let us know your pronouns and the other people in the story predicament, their pronouns, if you would like to do so. We keep it all anonymous. Give us some fake names. But we do think that the best way, no, we don't think, we know the best way to achieve the best call. If you want to be the best, you got to write it down. Write it down, practice a couple times, time it out. See like, oh, I have a lot more time than I thought. Instead of saying like, oh, and then a bunch of other like absolutely crazy shit happened, but I don't have time for that. Oh, no, you do. Give us a little bit of a smattering, a sprinkling of the crazy shit.
You're right.
That's why we're here.
We need the details or we cannot give accurate advice.
Yeah, it might not pertain to you at all if you you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, well, how are we supposed to know?
Right.
So if you can achieve all of those things, which I promise is truly not that hard. A couple practice tries, that's okay. You can some people have called in twice and they're like, I'm so sorry, let's start that over.
3 times or 4.
That's fine.
And on the 4th one, they're like, I should have wrote it down.
And I came back and I finally wrote it down now. So we're just looking out for you. And it's also great to listen to other episodes just to get a refresher to see some like great calls and how they've formatted them to be the call you wish to see in the world. And yeah, we also do updates, which is a great way to segue into
an update. All right. Shall we get into it?
Shall we?
Okay. So just like the recap was, I was a person calling in about living with a friend who I'm no longer friends with. And they're posting stuff on Snapchat about me. And I was very like vague in the situation. So you guys said that you wanted to like know more details about kind of what happened. And yeah, listening to it back, I was like, oh my God, I didn't really give any detail.
We love the drama.
I apologize. Yeah, I know. So, I mean, I guess kind of what I didn't really include is that what ended up happening was that I was basically like guilt tripped and manipulated, specifically like when I told my friend that I was transferring, that she said, I don't know if I could be alive if you're not here at the school with me.
Oh God.
Yeah, so obviously that's already like hard for anyone, but one of my like a couple years ago, one of my really close friends committed suicide, so it's like extra trauma where it's like for me it's just really difficult like to talk about suicide, and I've kind of felt like it was purposeful that she did that to like kind of make me feel guilty. And she also ends up coming to my work at one point and we get in this really big fight because I was just like, hey, I feel like you need to get help, like go to therapy because what you're saying is concerning. Then I disinvited her. She was going to come to Thanksgiving with me and go home with me. And so I disinvited her. And then kind of basically after that, like everything blew up. I tried to resolve things, but I guess I ultimately felt that it was like a lot of what she did was super toxic, and I felt uncomfortable with continuing our friendship. And yeah, so, but now we still live together and we just don't talk and just ignore each other.
I mean, I wouldn't want to resolve any of that either. Like, yeah, that's royally, royally fucked up. And like, I agree with you that like, that does feel like intentional. Not that anyone should ever say that to anyone. And I would never say it to anyone. Like, it is manipulative. It's not okay. But like, you especially don't say that to someone who like has personal experience dealing with that. And it brings up like a specific trauma, not just the regular amount of trauma that is saying things like that. Yeah. So are you
very targeted.
Yeah, exactly. Are you at the same, did you already transfer?
No. So it was too late for me to transfer when I decided like I couldn't apply to other schools for spring semester. So I'm just staying here until the end of this semester. And then next semester I'll be going to a different school.
Okay. How much longer do you have of this semester?
80 days.
You're counting down. Little X's on the calendar.
I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it really is like that. It's just like I'm like very homesick, and like my mom, I really love my mom. My boyfriend lives at home, and so it's just difficult for me over here. And that's another thing was like also the reason was because I'm like having a really hard time over here, and so I was met with like the opposite of what I really needed in that time, which was just like support, because it's like it was hard for me because I actually do like the school. It's just being so far from home is just very difficult for me.
Well, transferring schools or like dropping out of schools is like not the easy option. Like it's the harder thing to do. And like, I wish that was more regarded as such because everybody wants it to work out the first time. They want it to all work out perfectly that way. And so it's not giving up and it's not like, it's like, this is a hard decision to come to for the person who's making the decision. Like, it's not the, like, ultimately, like, the goal you want to have. Like, you want to like where you end up in the situation you end up in the first time. So how are you getting out of your lease? How's that going to work?
So I actually live on campus.
Right.
So
yeah.
Oh, is that not a lease?
No, it's like, it's by semester. So when it's over, then you can just leave.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's not going to be difficult. And I did think about moving rooms, except I'm in like an apartment style dorm. So it's like we all have our own rooms, which is nice at least, even though there's still interaction, but not the same as if you're literally like sleeping together. But like none of the other like there's no more available rooms for me to even transfer to. So I'm just like trying to stick it out. But like, it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just like very hostile, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that it makes a lot of sense. And like, it's hard because especially in school, like you're stressed, you're going to classes or you've been doing classes online. Like your home is supposed to be like your decompressing place and like not the place where like you go and you're like, oh, I'm still anxious here. Like I'm still stressed out here.
It's unfortunate. And also like, I've always heard like, oh, don't live with your friends. And I feel like everyone just has to go through it to be like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Everybody thinks that they're the exception. But
yeah, I did it and I regret it immensely.
I did it and, you know, as I've told before, I prayed her out.
Yeah, it's like, it's, you know.
Divine intervention.
Exactly. And you've got 80 days left, 80-something days.
When's spring break?
Spring break is in like the middle of March.
Okay, so like in a month. Yeah. So you've got, are you getting away for that?
Yes, okay. I'm going home. And I do, like, I'm lucky I have a car. And I also recently quit my job because I'm just like, I'm just overwhelmed with things. So like, I just have more freedom now and I can go home when I want. It's like 3-hour car ride. So it's like not the hardest thing. It's like not the best, but
yeah, it's only a period of time. Like you get through it and then you never have to do it again. That's like one of those like good things about it. Like as much as it fucking sucks, because it's all encompassing. No matter how much you can spend weekends away or like spend a day away or get away, like it is all encompassing until it's not. And then it's like, oh, this is just not fucking there at all. And this is not a part of my life at all anymore. I don't have to think about it at all anymore. And like, you know, if you're like me, I definitely like, you know, still had some residual things I had to work through afterwards. But the ability to like, you don't realize how much it like weighs on every aspect of like your life until you're out of the situation. You're like, oh, now everything else is a little bit easier, which is good.
Yeah. And that's like also another thing, like about the Snapchat thing. That's why it's like, it's just difficult. I think like you want people to perceive you well. And also the college we go to is literally 500 or so students. So it's super small.
My graduating class from high school was bigger than that.
Yeah, mine too. So it's just like word is like travels fast. And so I just feel like that's another reason that I just hate like the posting about me. And there's things that are just not true. Like, oh, I'm excluding them from plans, and it's like, okay, we're not even on speaking terms. Why would you be like hanging out with us? Which I understand, but it just a lot of it makes it seem like I'm trying to be rude, and like I just never would ever want to be like that. Like all my friends know, like everyone's invited to everything. I try to be accepting, and like, oh, I went through and unliked all her photos and stuff. And it's like, no, you blocked me because I was begging her to like not like I needed space because I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, I just need time to process this. And so I was blocked because she's like, I can't not talk to you.
Oh my God.
So the only thing I can do is block you. And so then that like, I think unlikes all the photos. And I'm like, I don't have hatred in my heart for
or time.
Her.
Yeah.
Yes.
The time to go through and unlike photos, that's ridiculous.
But you should know that like if I knew her or was friends with her and she told me this about you, I wouldn't believe it. Like, even regardless of who the other person on that side is, like, we all, like, the relationships we have with people, like, very rarely are they so insular that, like, those character traits you would be like shocked that you're like, no way. Like, I'm sure she's shown her hand at like some of her behavior towards other people, so that like when she says some shit, like I know people who like they start talking shit on someone else and I go, I know for a fact if you're talking shit, I'm probably on their side. Like, I'm on the other person's side of that. And so like anyone who's going to believe the shit that she's saying is just like without any like proof or with word of mouth. Like, there are very few people that I'm going to believe them talking shit on someone that feels very like unwarranted. And that kind of story, like if I know the person, even like, again, 500 persons like school, like it's relatively small. Like if I have my own personal experiences with someone, like there are very few people that I would take their word that the person that I know or have been like acquaintance with or friendly with is like this evil monster that I would have no idea because it's like totally hidden. Like there are very few people I would take their go act on that on like their word alone.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. If your friends know, and like the people who, anyone who's going to believe her and all of that shit with out any like proof of anything. And then you have like your friends who are all standing by you. Like those aren't people you would want to be friends with anyway. Because they're people like her.
That's true.
And that's a big ass red flag.
Yeah.
But that's fucking rough. And it's just like, yeah, that's so fucking annoying. But I mean, if you can, I hate the whole like, oh, well, look on the bright side. But in the sense of like, if she's going to talk shit about you on like social media, she is kind of weeding out all of the people that you go, oh, wow, you have like zero backbone and like you're going to like believe shit without any evidence, any proof, anyone like being able to like speak up for yourself. Like, okay, cool. So good to know that I should never be friends with you. Like, great, amazing. You're weeding it out.
And I'm also like, if somebody is sitting here taking the time to do this and constantly talking about you, like one, that's not somebody I want to be friends with, but two, like go study.
Yeah, that's what when you are so clearly like not making your entire life about her, she's making her whole life about you and then trying to make it seem like that's in response to that. Like if I hear that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, this is you. Yeah. This is you. Like you need a hobby. Like you've become obsessed with this.
Yeah. Ugh. It's just such a weird position. And it's like it's like you switch overnight. I guess it's just kind of like time. Because it's like we were best friends, like hung out all the time, you know? And it's just like,
Yeah.
How long were y'all friends for?
It was just like a year. I think it's so difficult because in college, it's like you just have all this weird time where you just are not doing anything. So it's like you're together all the time. And it was definitely like more of a codependent relation. I wouldn't say from both sides, but I learned when this all went down that she viewed it very codependently, which also makes me kind of uncomfortable, like, because I'm very independent. So
yeah, a lot of codependent people, they can attach onto that and see that, and then by proxy, it goes, oh, this is going to have me do a lot of things that I wouldn't feel comfortable with. There's a lot of insecurity with it, so thinking that it has to be mutual when it's not.
Because it's like it's also this time in your life where you're leaving your comfort, like you're leaving home. And so she latched onto you, and it's not uncommon. You're not the first person that's called in that said that their roommate has been codependent on them in college. So it's not like, going to a new place and then having that person that's there that you're comfortable with that you have to rely on. And then it's like, but like, I want to have other things in life too. And some people just don't realize that.
Yeah. And it's a lesson she'll have to learn. Like I definitely like, as someone who like did not know that she had social anxiety for a long time, like I was very like needed a friend to go with me to do anything. Like I couldn't do anything by myself. And then I went through absolute hell in college, dropped out, and was like, oh, I have to learn how to be independent. And then I'm like independent to a fault. And so like, it's one of those things that like, she's going to have to learn it. And you were friends when it benefited both of you. And it was like a good relationship. And at this point, but like, there's no reason or no need for you to like placate or deal with her codependency and like this like tough learning time, like tough love and learning time for her. Like, it's just like, okay, we're done. Like, this is there's no reason for you to feel any sort of like remorse or guilt or that like you did anything wrong or could have handled it in any different way, because based on like how she's treated you in trying to get you to like stay, it's so clear that like it's manipulation. It's not like care.
Yeah, it is just difficult, I guess, like what you're saying, where you feel like, oh, I should have done something differently, because you just you don't want, like, I don't want bad things and I don't want her to suffer, but it's also
she was
like,
going to suffer regardless. That's like the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it has nothing to do with you. Like, you could have done everything right and she would have been just as mad. And like, that's a hard thing to reconcile with when you have a very different emotional state or instincts, like that you would never do that. Like if your reactions feel proportionate to like the situation at hand. But for people like that, like I've gone through friendship breakups where it was like literally like nothing happened. And like, I was like, oh, okay. I talk about it in one of my book, but it was like, I'm going to go to come with me to Vegas for my birthday. And this person didn't come. And I was like, okay, never showed up. They planned on coming. We had them in a room or whatever. And then like lost their shit at me because like it was so offensive that I would invite more people than just this one person. And it was like, you managed to turn an invite to a birthday party to like a personal attack. And like people like that will like literally do anything. And it's no matter how you handle it, it's just, it is what it is. And it's not like on you. And it's not on like your actions or your character or your situation. They fill the roles in their lives with people and then they cast them as the villain whenever they need to. And so like and it sucks to say that it's unavoidable from like both parties, but it is, because like you don't want to go into every relationship being incredibly distrusting, like thinking someone's like a manipulative and awful and all of that. But you know, you trusted your instincts when she started to become like that and like set clear boundaries and followed through. Like, I don't think there's anything you could have done better. Like, I think you handled this in like the best possible way. And I'm glad it didn't deter you from making the right choice for you and transferring schools. Cause like, it's a really hard choice to make and it's a good one for you.
So I went home for Thanksgiving break and then I was talking to my mom and I was like, I feel like I just like at the end of the day, I just need to do what's best for me. Cause like, okay, 4 years pass and then what? You're not in my life. Like that at the end of the day, it's just you, you know, like no matter who's in your life, like people are impermanent. And like, I have to, if that's going to make me happy right now, I have to choose me and not like, it's just, I don't know. It was just difficult. Also, it was during finals, which just makes everything.
No, that's hard.
100 times worse.
Yeah. No one's going to choose you but you. And like, no one else is going to prioritize you but you. Like, we can all prioritize other people, but at the end of the day, everyone else is always going to prioritize themselves. And that's not a bad thing, but it's like we should all be doing that when we can. And I think I think you've got like a really good sense of this. And I think you're being a little hard on yourself of that, like, that you should be proud of the accomplishments of making these choices and like these decisions and like recognizing that this relationship is not good. And if anybody thinks poorly of you after like this, that looks bad on them, not you. And it's easier said than done, but it's shitty and it's hard. And I think you'll feel a lot of a weight lifted off you and it'll be a lot easier to like process and deal with all of it once you're out. And I find cutting out toxic people from my life, like full cut. So meaning you're not living there anymore. It amplifies the other people in your life. I just like have no bullshit for like anyone who's even remotely shitty anymore. Cause I'm like, I already did that. I went through all the fucking legwork to get out of that situation. Like if you're going to empathize with that situation, you're going to relate to that situation, or you're going to relate to like her side of it. Like I have no time for you. Like I already did this. Like I already chose me and now I don't give a shit anymore. But it's harder when you're in it because you're always having to justify and rationalize and like compromise every day with like living with someone like that. Oh, well, 80 days. We are counting down with you.
We are. I'm actually going to break it up. I'm going to count down to spring break and then count down to finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. I thank you guys for all the comments and
of course. We're excited for you and the change, and we're rooting for you and counting down. Melissa will be actually doing the numbers of counting down. I will just be doing the cheering because numbers aren't really my thing.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Of course. Well, thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Love the update.
Great. Counting down the days, everybody. We're circling it on our calendar. It's like, I don't know. I have an image of SpongeBob crossing out days.
Okay.
I don't know if that's it. So without further ado, we're going to take a break.
We're back.
We're back.
And now we're going to get into the
Let's
calls.
change some lives.
Hi, Meghan and Melisa. I'm 25 and have been with my 27-year-old boyfriend for about a year and a half now. We met right after both moving to this new city, which we are now in. For him, it was a totally new country, as he's from England. A year after we became official, we moved in together and have now been living together for about 6 months. Totally great living with him. We split up household tasks about 50-50, and he's an amazing cook and all of that. It's great. Because of his career, however, we could end up moving anywhere in the world and will likely leave the U.S. in a year or two. I knew this going into our relationship. I've always loved traveling and I've wanted to live abroad at some point. However, now I have to put my money where my mouth is. He just got a job in Germany, in a fairly not English-speaking area, and neither of us know German. We have talked about it a lot and don't know what to do. It's a good opportunity as I'm in a point in my career when I can also leave, and I'm still pretty young. The downsides, however, are obvious. It's hard to find an English-speaking job, and we won't know anyone there. We could wait a year and see if he gets a job in England or somewhere else English-speaking, but maybe I'm just being unreasonably scared and should just take the leap. I'm worried that if, say, next year he does get another job in a better place, what if then I'm unable to leave my job and we have to break up or be long distance? This just feels like it would be the best timing in my life to do this, but I'm not sure how to know if it's the right thing to do. Should I just say fuck it, or is it maybe right time, wrong place? Because I do have some time, I'm a Virgo and he's a Cancer. Any advice you have would be great. Thank you.
I can teach you German. Guten Morgen. Guten Tag. Eins, zwei, vier, fünf.
Schmetterling means butterfly. So, question for you. Do you think the assumption, or what we should assume, that the boyfriend's job would be an English-speaking job? Because how would he get a job in Germany if it's a German-speaking job if he doesn't speak German? Because I think that would automatically rule it out. You go, I'm so sorry, I don't speak German.
Correct.
The question's not, should my boyfriend fake learning German?
It seems like your boyfriend works for a company that probably is based.
Yeah, so his office would be a fair amount of English-speaking, and he could be English-speaking in his office.
Yes. My question is, what do you do for work now? And I know taxes and things, sometimes they don't let you do international just because they get taxed different. It's even state by state, But I would see, is there a job that you could work for remotely that is an English-speaking job, and see if there's English speaking? I feel like I don't know where you're going in Germany, but they speak English at quite a few places.
Yeah. Germany, the Netherlands, a lot of places will have a lot of people take English from a very, very, very young age. But I think doing a job while learning a language, it's not going to match your experience level with your job experience level with your experience in learning the German language. You're not going to really be able to get by with a basic German if everyone speaks German in a different position that's not, a German class where you're learning how to speak.
Unless your job is numbers based.
It's going to just make your job harder, and it'll make a lot of other people's jobs probably harder. But beyond that, I think I would also look at it socially. So if your goal is to find an English speaking job, then is the goal to find English speaking friends as well. And if you want to move abroad and travel and do all of that stuff, I think it's important to learn the language and be respectful of the language and the culture of the place that you're going. And do you feel like you would get the experience you would want if you pretty much have to exclusively only be socialized with other people who know English? It's going to be a lot of expats. It's going to be you might be in the location somewhere that's not America, but your experience might still be pretty American or pretty British, pretty whatever the people that you're meeting whose primary language is English. So I think I would say that I think it'll be hard no matter what, no matter where you would like move abroad, unless there is another language that you both speak. So like if you both speak Spanish or you both speak French, would it be a no-brainer for you to go to those other places? Because I think like if you're not excited and stoked and like jumping at the bit to like learn German and socialize in German, like eventually maybe get a job that's like remote and it's in English, and then being able to work your way up to that, that's just going to be really hard for you. And I don't think you would enjoy the experience as much, because moving somewhere is a lot. It takes a lot to get used to, let alone when you add a language barrier on top of that. And how long would he plan on being there? So like, are you going to put all this time and energy and effort in and then leave again? Because then that might make you not really that committed to learn.
But also she mentioned that he has to move a lot for his job anyway. So it's like, if you want to have like a steady job and be able to work somewhere, no matter where his job moves you, you need to find a job that's an international company that's English, that speaks English, and they allow you to work remotely, because that's really the only way that you're going to have consistent work if he's moving all the time and you don't know any other languages except for English.
Yeah. And you also might know that like you enjoy the theory of moving and traveling abroad a lot, but you might realize at a certain point that like, oh, I don't like this. I want to set roots down somewhere after a while, and or I'm not a huge fan of this specific place. I really like this other place and I don't want to leave this place. So I think like there has to be a good level of communication on not the dream, because you've said I don't know the exact phrasing that you used, but like putting your money where your mouth is, where you've said you've always wanted to do this and now that it's practically coming up. I think it's a really good point. Like we all talk about like wanting to do these things, and if it actually comes up, it's like, oh, well, logistically, how would this work? And like, would I enjoy it? So even thinking about that ahead of time now, you can't be entirely sure. So I would also like make sure you have like a really like long in-depth conversation with him about, so if I don't like this after a while, what's the solution? Like, is it him being like, we would pick the place we both liked the most and we would stay there and I would no longer travel for work? Or would it be, you'd stay here, I'd come back X amount of times during the year and all of this stuff? I think that that's a really important thing to like figure out before you go, because there's, no matter how much you like a place, you're going to be homesick. You're going to like experience culture shock. It's going to be hard not knowing the language and feeling othered from people and feeling like it's just harder. And so even if you love it, you're going to experience that. And you need to make sure that you are going to be allowed to like vocalize that. And it's not like, oh, well, if I complain about this relationship will be over because this is a deal breaker for them. Because again, if you don't have a remote job that can let you work from anywhere, you might set down roots in a place. And like, is he going to then, or you have to start traveling for work, is he going to then come along with this? Or is this kind of like come along on my...
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Career journey.
Right.
I would also just make a list of like, if it was a different country, would you have this many qualms? Like, is there one that you would be like 100% like, I'm going immediately? Yes, 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 yes. And I would just ask yourself, like, does this feel like it's not everything you want? Because even though you haven't been specific with yourself, you have a specific image in your mind of what that is.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, because you only mentioned that, like, if he moved to an English speaking country, I think you only speak English.
Yeah.
Which does limit you. But it limits you, but because England was going around colonize every place, like, there are people that speak English in a lot of places. It just might not be like the primary language.
Yeah. I also, like, I don't think this is what he does, but I would just to, like, gather some more information, like crowdsource from other people. I would, like, look on, like, subreddits and things of, like, military families who are going abroad, of being like, oh, I'm in a city where I don't speak the language, but the only people I'm socializing with are other Americans who also only speak English. Like,
yeah,
I would look at
that's a little different though, because they're going to be on a base. Like, if you're in the military, you're on a base.
I just mean in the social aspects of what is the reality of wanting to live abroad and have the experience while being in a pretty, like, American, insular, or even British in this case, circle of not speaking the language, and, like, having your social circle be that as well. Because it's wherever you live, it's living. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like studying abroad. It's not like a vacation. Like, it's that aspects of it. And social interactions, like maintaining a social life as an adult, is incredibly hard. And I find it hard in LA. And, like, everyone here, there's no language barriers. And so making sure when you're going somewhere else that, like, you're also making the initiative to know that, like, you don't want to limit your pool to, like, of friends to, like, only the people you know that speak English, who then introduce you to other people who speak English, because it's putting a lot of power in the hands of other people to, like, create your social circle in that sense.
And I wonder too, like, when you imagined living abroad, where did you imagine?
Yeah. Because
it seems like you just imagine English speaking countries.
Yeah.
And then you got this British boyfriend, you're like, set.
Yeah. And, like, I don't think that there's anything, like, wrong with that. But I think you might be setting yourself up for misery if you're not honest with yourself of, like, this isn't what I actually envisioned. And I don't think that makes you a bad person or makes you uncultured or anything like that. Like, we also have a very romanticized idea of that, because a lot of them are from, like, American movies or English speaking movies that were like, oh, look at them abroad. And you're like, oh, well, and everybody's speaking English here. Right. And so it becomes more of, like, the fantasy versus, like, the practicality of, like, the difficulties every day of, like, getting my groceries, going to a pharmacy, like, doing all of those things.
Another option too is, like, does his company have some place where you could work where it's like a separate department?
Yeah, that's a smart. And it's not shitting where you eat, because you
tasted the honey before you visit the hive.
I was going to say, you ate there and now you have to take a shit. I think it's a great thing for most people to do if you want to do it. But I think if you have a really big hang up, some things are harder to fix than others if you don't enjoy something.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with creating I don't want to say escape plan, but, like, if you're miserable, how are you going to get out and make sure you have the money to do so, the resources to do so, and the person you're going with, in this case, your partner, is, like, aware that, like, if I'm not happy, this is the timeline I'm giving myself. And I'm much better at, like, that's like creating my safety net. I'm much more comfortable jumping, taking big risks if I've thought about the outcomes and how I can help myself out of those outcomes.
All right. Next call.
Yeah.
Hi, Meghan and Melisa. So I need some relationship advice. Basically, I, like, recently started dating again after, breakups and moving and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm, like, not ready for a relationship. I'm just going to date casually. But then I've realized that I don't really know what I'm doing dating casually. I was like, oh, you, like, build a roster, like, whatever. I'm, like, going on dates with, people on Hinge and stuff. And then I know this guy from work. We don't, like, work together, but I know him, like, location where I work, basically. And then I started sleeping with him. Let's call him Jake. And love sleeping with Jake. Great dick. A good time. And we're, like, friends. Like, I go out with him and his other friends and, like, watch movies with him. And, it's, like, really fun and great. but it's definitely not like relationship vibes. Like it's more like friends and then also sex. And then there's this other guy that I met on Hinge. Let's call him Martin. And Martin is more like relationship vibes, like text me all the time. Like we've gone on some dates. We've hung out, like just hung out and not had sex, but also had sex. But yeah. And then obviously Martin doesn't know about Jake. And I'm like, do I need to tell him that? No, right? But I don't know, like, how do I casually date? Like, I don't think that Martin is, like, sleeping with other people. So do I need to, like, tell him that? Obviously, I'm being safe and everything, but, like, how much do I owe to tell these people? And also, like, is that bad of me? Is that, like, slutty? Anyway, Jake moves in, like, a month and a half. So that's, like, probably going to end anyway, sadly. So maybe it doesn't matter, but I guess my advice is like, how do I date casually and how much do I owe to tell other people that I'm dating casually? Like, do I need to tell Martin that I'm like still on the apps or am I okay? Thank you guys so much for your advice. I've been listening for years and years. You basically raised me. Okay, bye.
First things first. Slutty is not bad.
No, we don't slut shame here. A slut is
great. A
Yeah,
slut is a
slut is
self-proclaimed title.
a self-proclaimed title that you also get to change the definition of if you want.
Exactly. Like I'm all for, in my life, serving slut in the sense of, are you giving me if you giving me a tiny little dress and a gorgeous outfit, I'm like, look at me. My terms of slut and endearment is my older age, because oh boy, was I guilty of using the negative connotation in terms of slut. We don't do that anymore. We've left that shit. So being slutty is great.
Slut it up.
Slut it up.
Yeah. So for dating casually, you don't necessarily have to build a roster. You could casually date one person.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're more comfortable with, then okay. But if not, if you want to have a roster, cool.
Make sure you have the time.
Make sure you have the time. I think if I had the time, like, I could be polyamorous, but
Bitch, you could build like an empire of ass.
I've had a roster pre having jobs, but I just, at this point in my life, I don't have the time.
You get an assistant to make a roster.
I mean, and then as far as telling, I think if you're having sex with them, then it is a responsibility to disclose that you're not just sleeping with that person for health reasons. But you don't have to specifically say who, why, how many. Just let them know that you're not the only person that I'm sleeping with. I feel like that's the ethical thing to do. But I don't think you have to let them know, like, specifically who it is.
No, I don't think we should be under the assumption that if someone tells us they're not sleeping with other people, that they are.
Right.
Because it's health. It's a health thing. And so I think just because you're like, I don't think that he is, I don't think that means you're both necessarily on the same page. I think it could mean that you both are sleeping with other people, but it's good to just have the confirmation.
Yeah, I think it's a discussion that anybody who's sleeping with anyone should have.
And I think it makes you a little bit more comfortable to that, because then, like, on the chance that someone else that you're sleeping with contracts like an STI, there is a little bit less pressure and nerves to tell the other person, because it's not like, oh, this is a double whammy. I'm sleeping with other people in case you didn't know, and you should get tested. So having that open dialogue ahead of time so you both know those things, I think it just can make the comfortability of an inevitable thing that not always but like, something that can happen regardless of how many precautions that you take, that has no moral meaning to anyone. It can happen to anyone. And so I just think to think ahead about your safety and the time and the turnaround. So I don't want anyone, like, if that was in my position, I wouldn't want anyone to be nervous about telling me, so then they would wait to tell me.
Right.
So I would start the conversation. But like Melissa said, I don't think you owe them the
details.
No, like the contents of it or the explanation of it, or you don't need to defend it at all. Like, I think it's just, it is what it is, and it's a fact. The same way it's a fact that you're sleeping with this guy. Like it's it is what it is. But dating casually is not. I don't think there's like a playbook. Like however you see it,
it's
can
the
be
intention
anyone.
that you're going with. So if you're like your intention is that I'm dating casually, I'm dating this one person casually, like we just have sex and I go hang out with his friends. Like that can be casual. Like you can have a roster and be like every night somebody else is, I'm hanging
tag team.
Yeah, I'm hanging out with them. It could be
relay race. Tag team is
you could
do that.
You could.
It's combining your rosters.
Yeah. They're definitely playing on the team and two people aren't on the bench. One person's just on the sideline.
That's my limit of sports references I can give.
It's like when you take the ball out in basketball and then you got to throw it into the next person, to the person that's in the game. Like you're in the game together, but there's one person that's throwing it in to get the ball back in play.
Yep.
Ball back in play actually works too. But yeah, again, it's intention.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a co-founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. During her journey, Isla meets new friends, including King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, and learns valuable life lessons with every quest, sword fight, and dragon ride. Positive and uplifting stories remind us all about the importance of kindness, friendship, honesty, and positivity. Join me and an all-star cast of actors including Liam Neeson, Emily Blunt, Kristen Bell, Chris Hemsworth, among many others, in welcoming the Search for the Silver Lining podcast to the Go Kid Go network by listening today. Look for the Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Only tell if you're sleeping with multiple people, then it's the ethical thing to do. You don't have a roster, and have fun and be safe.
Yeah, I think the intention, as long as it's clear with both people, because like when you're describing like this person's kind of more like boyfriendy and like this other one's more casual, you have a say in that too. Like in the sense of like it shouldn't just be like, oh, let me see what the vibes that this person is like giving off. It's as long, and if they're giving off boyfriend vibes when you have both established that it's casual, then like that's totally fine.
He just might have a different way of showing affection.
Yeah, and it just might be a different way of operating, being casual, because everyone is different with that. So as long as you're on the same page ahead of time, I think it's always so much better to be transparent at the start than versus feeling like you have to do catch up and like you're not sure where you are at because you're like, you've been inside me, so what do I owe you ahead of time? So like, I also would just kind of treat it like a blanket statement. Like not one person is owed more than you from others because they've treated you X amount of, like they treat you so nice, so you do like whatever. Like it's not that. Like this is like your sexcapade. This is like your sex life, and like you know.
And you can also casually date someone and not have sex with them too.
Totally. So if you're not dating someone seriously, but you're dating, you've succeeded in your casually dating.
Right.
So you already won. Good job. Congrats.
All right, let's take another break.
Yahoo!
We're back from our break.
Let's get into cash.
Hi, Meghan and Melisa. I'm 24 years old and use she, her pronouns. Everyone in my story uses she, her pronouns as well. My story is about a friend we'll call Jessie. Jessie and I have been friends for over 6 years because we were freshman year roommates in college. We remained friends for years after, and when we graduated, we moved into our apartment with another mutual friend we'll call Callie. Callie's girlfriend, Hannah, also moved in with us about a year into living together. We all lived together for a total of 2 years and moved out last summer of 2022. My issue begins in January of 2022, though we've had issues before. I was about 2 months into my relationship with my current girlfriend. This was when Omicron was very prevalent. Me and my girlfriend got COVID at the same time, and out of respect for my roommates, I decided to stay with my girlfriend. However, at the time, my girlfriend's shower was being redone, so her and her roommates didn't have a working shower. Since that's where they were paying rent, they didn't shower during that 2-week period when all of us had COVID. However, I was still paying rent in my apartment and I wanted to shower. I shared a bathroom with Jessie and I told her I was coming to shower and that I would wipe down the bathroom, spray Lysol, wear my mask, and be in and out as quick as possible. I only ended up doing this twice. Jessie was mad at me for this and expressed that via text. I essentially told her that I was going to shower there regardless because I was still paying rent. After this was over, I noticed Jessie treating me completely different when I returned to the apartment. She often ignored me, didn't say hi to me or my girlfriend when we would come over, and made zero effort to interact with us or get to know my new girlfriend. She made my girlfriend feel unwelcome, so when she was home, we would often just go into my room to hang out. When Jessie was not home, my other roommates, Kelly and Hannah, were super friendly, and we all became friends. We also hang out on a regular basis, even though me and my girlfriend moved in with each other after our lease ended. Jessie never spoke to me about how she feels, and I never asked her because I was incredibly hurt and felt disrespected by her actions. We've had this issue before about her giving me and my other roommates the silent treatment when she's mad instead of expressing her feelings, but she never changed. After moving out, I drafted a text to her to express how hurt I was, but I never ended up sending it. It's been over 6 months since we moved out, and we haven't spoken. I thought maybe I would let it fizzle out, but Kelly and Hannah told me that Jessie expressed to them that she was surprised that I didn't wish her a happy birthday a few months ago and that she didn't know why I'd be mad at her. Should I reach out to her and tell her how I feel, or should I leave it in the past since it has already been several months since we've spoken? Thank you, and love the pod and been listening since 2017. Love you.
Nobody's going to like what I have to say.
I don't think they're going to like either. There's 3 different things happening here. My first thing is, did you and Jessie share a shower? I'm guessing it's a shower because you said, the caller said, I showered in Jessie's shower. But the thing is that you were quarantined at your girlfriend's house. You leaving breaks the quarantine, and you're still, regardless of wearing a mask and Lysol, you're still bringing those germs into the house, and you broke your quarantine.
Yeah. And like, this is, of all of the times of a shower to be broken, like, this is actually great timing because you have COVID and
you showered twice.
Yeah. Like, I just think, like, you know, if the shower breaks and like you're going to work every day, like, that's a much bigger hassle than like, oh, I already have to, like, I can't leave the apartment. Like, so like now we're in an apartment full of a bunch of people who can't shower and can't leave. Mm-hmm. And it's just, your showering is not more important than like quarantining, nor is it more important than your hygiene is not more important than somebody's health. Mm-hmm. So that I've got, like, fundamentally I have an issue with, but I also have an issue with, like, and I will be so transparent, like, I am definitely biased in this. Like, I'm definitely going to be, and this is how we give advice on things based on like our own lives and stuff. But like, I have experience with similar thing to this of like, you basically asked her if you were going to go do this. She said like, whether you asked her and she said no, or you told her and she said was upset and you were like, okay, well, I'm just going to come regardless. And then she treats you differently. And you're like, why did she never speak about how she felt? She did. She did. Mm-hmm. She was mad. And she told you she was mad. And you said, I don't care. Like, I'm not saying you putting words in your mouth, but when she tells you she's mad and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go through with this regardless of how you feel. You're saying, I don't care that you're mad. I'm still going to do it. And now you're wondering why she's mad. So I personally don't think that you have the right to be mad at her. Mm-hmm. I think like you are, and that's, you know, I mean, I guess I'm saying I'm not saying I don't think you have the right to be mad at her. You can feel however you want to feel. I don't think it's justified for you to be mad at her, and you're really mad at her for not speaking about how she felt and instead giving you the silent treatment instead of expressing that she was mad. But she did all of that. Mm. I think you're mad because you didn't want her to be upset about this. And she was, and you made the choice doing it, thinking that maybe her text message responses you were misreading them. Like, you didn't want this to be as big of a deal as it was. And it was a big deal. And I think you can't go back in time. So it's easier for you to be upset with her for quote unquote making it a big deal when you knew it was a big deal to her.
Right.
So I think this is truly mismanaging of other people's comfort levels, expectations and things. Like, you saying that, like, you know, we all got COVID, so we quarantined at like my girlfriend's place. If you come back and shower twice, you didn't. Mm-hmm. So
like I said, it's breaking the quarantine.
So I think like for you, it felt worth it, but you live with other people, so you can't decide that. And you unilaterally did decide that. And like, if I was your roommate, like I would cry. Like I would be so anxious. I'd be so uncomfortable. I'd be so nervous. And I'd feel like so disrespected and so hurt and unheard. And I wouldn't talk. And then if I found out that you were upset with me, I'd be like, why are you upset with me for my response to your actions? Like, we wouldn't have been here if you didn't do this. And I told you I didn't want you to do this. And this made me upset. And now you're upset at me for being upset.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I just think we need to listen to people when they tell you how they feel. And just because it's not a big deal to you, it can be a big deal to other people, and other people might not get over it. And you have to know that going into the decisions you make and stand by it. Like, would you now, going back in time, like, would you have done this knowing that this really upset her and like she wouldn't like talk to you after this? Like, was it worth it?
Right.
But again, I'm fully disclosing that I'm like incredibly biased about this. Like, COVID health-wise precautions, like as someone who still has to deal with all of the effects of long COVID, like it makes me really, I would be very upset being in her position. And I get upset when people don't take my health seriously, whether they tell me in the moment or they tell me afterwards. Like, it literally is like the most disrespectful thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it feels like a slap in the face. And you're like, cool, you don't care.
Right.
Awesome. But then also that like, it's hard to, especially when shit is so fucking contentious about the pandemic and like politicized and like all of this shit, that it's really, really hard to be the person who's not comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's sadly the really unpopular opinion, and it's the minority opinion. So it is hard for her to say that she's uncomfortable with that. She's not okay with that. She's upset about that. It's a lot easier for her to like, you know, socially to ignore it. Like she's the one who's essentially been she didn't exile herself out of this group. It was in my point of view, she essentially got exiled out of this group because it seems like maybe the other roommates were like, whatever, it's fine.
Right.
And it's just not something that is easy to say when you're upset or you're not comfortable with it. And then to have that be met with, well, I don't actually really care, like, or I'm still going to do it anyways. Like, that's someone shutting down something that was like already a hard boundary to make.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me sad. And I don't think that you recognize that.
Right.
So.
All right.
I thought you're like the only person in the world who's like, I know everything Meghan is saying. Subtext.
It's the same thing that I felt too. And then the thing about the birthday, I don't think that's something to really dwell on. Like,
of Jesse wishing that the caller wished her happy birthday. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. If y'all aren't talking, then I wouldn't want you to wish me a happy birthday. But
I guess because I see her point of view of like essentially being like, I'm upset. Why haven't you apologized? Why aren't you upset? But now you're cutting me out. It's like, I think both of you think, like, I think that she thinks that you're giving her the silent treatment. And I think you think she's giving you the silent treatment.
Yeah. So I don't know. If you want to be friends with her, have a conversation with her. And she might just like be a person that's quiet and she doesn't express her feelings. She just might be a quiet, reserved person. And what you think is the silent treatment is just her existing.
Yeah.
But I would be mad at you for this.
Yeah, me too. And I think it's a lot to expect that she wouldn't be.
All right. Get to the next call.
Hey, Meghan and Melisa. I am a 21-year-old she, her pronouns, and I'm attracted to men. I wanted to get your advice on putting myself out there and exploring my sexual side without really having any prior experience other than with myself. For some background, I had my first kiss about a year and a half ago, and since then I've had 2 standalone makeout sessions with different guys, neither of which moved below the belt, were really fun, and I felt very safe in both experiences, knowing that I was in control of how far things went. I go to a pretty big state school where hookup culture is pretty common, and it seems like I'm a black sheep for having never had sex or done anything of the sort. Regardless, I don't feel embarrassed about my lack of experience, and I'm honestly proud of being aware of myself and my body enough to know that I haven't been ready for those things up until this point. However, I'm really excited to start exploring my sexual side and think that I'm at a good place to begin that journey, but I'm just not sure how to go about it in a healthy and good way. I want to make sure that what I'm comfortable with is clearly communicated, even with people I'm not necessarily so deeply connected to, and that the other person feels comfortable being with me given my lack of experience. I also feel awkward about having someone teach me that's not like a long-term partner in these sorts of things. And I do think that it might be easier for myself to learn and explore this side of myself with someone that I have more of an emotional / romantic connection to, but I also don't necessarily want to wait until I meet someone worth dating to start this part of my life. So how do I go about having these experiences? Is being an experience something that I need to be super upfront with? Do you think that it's best suited to a friends with benefits sort of situation? And if so, how does one go about doing that? Or is this something that I just need to wait out and not put any pressure on happening? Also, I think it's good to mention that I grew up in an environment heavily influenced by purity culture, waiting till marriage, etc. So I'm actively working on deconstructing the ideas that came from that as well. But anyways, I would love any and all advice you guys have. Y'all are rock stars, and I love the pod. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, I didn't have sex until I was 21, 22, I think. And, you know, like you have been experimenting with yourself. I don't think you have to tell anybody that you haven't, because there's different levels of experience, and depending on what your partner and who your partner is and how you partner, like the experience is going to be different regardless. And I don't think that it matters. I think that what matters is consent.
Yeah.
And consent is saying that you want to do more.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like for you, like trust is a big thing, that you want to be with somebody that you know, because since you know them, then you can trust them that they're not going to do things that you don't consent to.
Yeah.
And so like the first person I had sex with was somebody I had a class with that I didn't necessarily like, but it just kind of happened in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, excellent kisser.
Oh,
and then it just
loving it. And you're like,
mm-hmm.
Okay, fanny flutters. Let's get this going.
Yeah. And it just happened.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, whoa, okay. And since I knew my body, I knew what I liked. So
yeah, that was not how my first time went.
You didn't know your body
No,
yet.
exactly.
Yeah. And so I think just finding somebody that you like, especially if you're at school, this seems like the greatest pool you can have is to maybe not specifically in like a class, because it can get awkward if you don't want to continue to see them, but seeing someone that you might be in a club with, a club that you don't care about, or like meeting somebody at a party that you maybe hang out with a few times, or is a recommendation from another friend that you trust, somebody that you're attracted to enough to do more. And it's not like I don't think you need to, unless this is just what you want to do. It's like, this is an experiment that you like pick a guy, like have a control group.
Like a rom-com.
And then, yeah, like you pick a guy out and you're like, that's the one. I think just letting it happen in the moment and not trying to rush or push or have any expectations, then it'll be natural and normal. And you won't have all those expectations put on it because there aren't any expectations.
Yeah. And I think if you have expectations, you have to communicate that. And so the idea of, you're saying that like you don't want to be taught anything. So mind cleaning is like, you should be able to kind of weed out the kind of guy who's going to do that before you have sex.
But he'll only know if you tell him. Like if you don't tell him, then there's no teaching.
Totally. But even then at that point, like if you decide to like tell like, oh yeah, like I'm not that like experienced, there will be guys that are like, oh, don't worry, I can teach you. And you're like, oh, I'm good.
And they're usually terrible.
Exactly. And so I'm like, you can really like, there's a lot of in the conversations, regardless of what you tell them or not, you'll be able to suss out a lot about a person and how they're going to be. Like no one's a totally different person in bed. Like if someone respects you out of the bedroom, like they are far more likely to respect you in the bedroom than someone who doesn't respect you out of the bedroom is like suddenly going to respect you when you're having sex. Like that's just not likely. So knowing that like that process there, you can again only control yourself, but you can control the people that you talk to. And like, I think that some people want to get things over with. And so like, let me pick someone like random, but then there's like, okay, well, or do I want someone who I know well, but like not so well that if it's like weird and is awkward. So like, I think there's a happy medium depending on what your expectation is afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to communicate that because like I've had friends and I've said on the podcast before where they're like, well, I don't want anything serious. I don't like care about if it's a boyfriend or anything. I just like don't want it to be like we sleep together one time and then I never hear from them again. You have to communicate that first because that actually can happen with one of your friends. And then you've now had the experience you don't want for your first time having sex. and you've lost a friend.
Right.
So that is something you need to communicate ahead of time. And it's not because there's a ton of people who just want to walk away. Sometimes some people think that like, oh, if it's your first time and like maybe it wasn't good and like I'm just going to dip out. And it's like, well, no, like I want to be able to continue to staying friends afterwards. Some people think they're doing you a favor because that you wouldn't want to be friends with them afterwards because maybe they don't want to see the person that they had sex with for the first time. But even if you're not telling them that, it's just a matter of like, you know, like what are you looking for? And knowing that like, I hate to say this, but like if you are going to have sex with anyone, regardless if you're friends with benefits, regardless if it's a casual hookup, regardless if it's dating, you could have been dating for X amount of years. There is always a chance that that is the last time that you see that person ever again. And then they go, regardless of how much commitment you have in a relationship or how little commitment you have in a relationship. There is never a sure thing. It's never going to be 100%. And there is no real true security there. It's trust, like you're saying, and wanting to have that trust there. That trust can always be broken and it sucks. So I think you're a really good place for really like knowing yourself and you're focusing much more on you and your readiness. And I think it's like, am I ready to have sex? Yes. Am I ready to have sex and then maybe never see this person again? Because no matter how well you vet the person that you sleep with, you can't ensure that. And that's a lot of pressure to put on you. So then if it does happen, that can really just send you into a tailspin and feel like you failed and your picker is off when in reality, it's not. We can only control ourselves. And for you wanting other people to, you want the other party to feel really comfortable and, you know, that they can be vocal and stuff, like you can start that. And like when you do that, like it's asking the other person and all of that. But I agree with what Melissa said of like not putting pressure on. Sure, you could pick out a couple people that you feel like meet the criteria of like what you want, but you have to know that with each choice that you're making or like attribute that you're like, yes, you're putting expectations on somebody and on the experience in itself. But I think you should wait. Like if it
can
comes
just
up,
be like that's somebody. Don't think about it like that's somebody I want to have sex with. So that's somebody that I want to make out with.
Yeah, like that's what I want to hang out with. Like they're hot, they're cool. Like,
what's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all, I'm JJ.
Hey, guys, it's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
like, yeah, like the same way of like who you're spending time with and who like in the moment you want it to be with and you're interested in that. I think that's how you set up the because then those expectations are for you. Like I'm expecting to know myself for when I'm ready in the moment with this person versus I'm setting up the expectation that this is the person I want to have sex with and now I have to make that happen.
Right.
Like there should be no failure in this. And the only way that there's no failure in this is if you have your expectations are only on you. But congratulations. Look at that big state school. I'm seeing a lot of fun in your future.
Me too. Time for Don't Blame Them.
Woo! So this week our Don't Blame Them comes in the form of a DM. I have no idea if you read your DMs, but I wanted to comment on today's Don't Blame Me regarding the person wanting to help their friend in need. I know you're all questioning what type of job would prevent you from seeking therapy, and I have personal knowledge that if you're in the U.S. military, especially in a higher up and or commissioned officer type rank or position, you would in many, if not most of all cases, be prevented from seeking any form of mental health care for fear of retribution. It's not talked about much, but even in a desk job style position, the military is incredibly hostile to any form of mental health related illness that may arise. I just thought this might be the case, and it's so common if the person is writing and located in the USA. That was really interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, me either.
And that is it. That is it. Did you enjoy yourself, Melissa?
I did. Did you, Megan?
I did. This was great. How
That
about all
seemed
of you?
fake as fuck.
Well, so did yours.
I was being genuine.
Well, I was poorly acting. Okay. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you would like to support us and support the show on Patreon, we would appreciate that so much. You can also leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we also have an Instagram account where you can follow us and tell us that we're pretty, tell us we're hot, that we're funny. Slide into our DMs. We always appreciate it. And stay tuned for tomorrow where we have our See You Next Tuesday episode. And then coming out on Thursday is a new episode of But Am I Wrong? And Friday, we read the results of last week while we fist you consensually. So prime your buttholes. You got a couple of days. Anyways. Deuces, bitches. Goodbye. Ow. Oh, I stretched it
overstretched.
too hard.
I mean, I felt it in my soul.
But you know when you like are like a little bit of like a pterodactyl and you like really need to get that dinosaur out of your body? I was trying and I don't have the limberness of the morning. Also, Mott's took the ugliest picture of me while I was sleeping.
We're done. Hold on.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Don't Blame Me is a production by me. Executive produced by Melissa DeMonts and Diamond Imprint Productions. Edited by Coco Lawrence. Production assistance by Melanie D. Watson. Music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast. And with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.